the rudder! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation. The MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the MisFitNation show and your Sunday after dinner episode. Tonight we have a great one, but before we get there, let's say happy Father's Day to all the fathers that are out there, that are present in their children's lives, that are there when they need them the most, that are there when things are going bad, when things are hurting. They're the ones that make it feel better so their kids don't have to suffer. Happy Father's Day to them, and most importantly, happy Father's Day to my father, Thomas LaMonica, in New Jersey. Now on to sad news. As we told you Thursday night, the 101st Airborne Division had a helicopter incident, and we lost a pilot, Chief Warrant Officer 2, Dustin Wright. Keep his family, friends, and peers and the community in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this tough and sudden lost time. And we know the community is resilient, but we need to be there for the family. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Tonight, we have an awesome guest. His name is Clay. He's an ex-Navy weapons tech turned behavioral coach and author of The Trust Trap. He spent 15 years helping high performers break toxic patterns, stop outsourcing their sanity, and take radical responsibility for their lives. So without further ado, let's welcome Clay Moffat to the MisFitNation show. Welcome, Clay.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's awesome to have you, and I know you're in tomorrow already where you are, so it's like we're talking to the future. I love when we have these shows and we're talking to the future. I wish you could tell us the lottery numbers, but no one ever can do that for us. But it's also great that you are a veteran of the Australian Navy and you served the country, and then you had an epiphany after that. So, Clay, I'd like you to tell a little more of your story from as far back as you want to go to how we got on the roller coaster to here.
All right. So I don't like talking about this, and it's purely just because it means that I have to face all the demons and basically how much of a piece of crap I used to be. And it's not always a fun exercise, but the fun comes in the fact that that's who I used to be and it's not how I show up anymore. So that part's fun. So I joined the Navy straight out of school, 17. I didn't really know what else I was going to do. My dad's ex-military, he's ex-special forces. And so he suggested, look, just do something. And like you get paid and you get an education and you get this. I was like, whatever, let's go. And so I joined the military and spent 7.5 years in the Australian Navy as a weapons tech, deployed to Iraq. That was the most boring and most exciting time, right? It's not that entertaining. It's not that fun. There's no real action that we see in the Navy. We're doing boarding operations, right? We're securing the Gulf and searching for contraband. So we're doing boarding operations and pretty much all non-compliant compliant boardings. So we're just searching through ship after ship after ship after ship, which is extremely boring. I think the most exciting thing that we had was a threat when we were doing a boarding. And this guy had been doing bomb drills on his own ship and forgot to put away their fake bomb package. When we came on, we found it. So then like everything just went crazy and people started going nuts. And fortunately, the chief boarding officer who was on our team decided not to report it because that would have cost this guy his captaincy and everything else and rah. But it definitely put the hammer down on everyone on board because things got real quick. And, yeah, it was just a fun time. But other than that, I spent the better part of 9 months lifting weights every day and boarding ships. And so that was my experience. And when people say, oh, like you went to Iraq and Afghanistan, dude, I may as well have been a cook at a military base. And they probably even saw more action than I did. So, there's different roles here. I don't claim to be some hardcore battle-hardened vet, not in any way, shape, or form. But
Understandable.
So I joined the military, and there was a few things that happened where I have a long history of alcohol abuse, like a long history, as in I was hospitalized at 13 and had to have my stomach pumped, and the doctors said to my parents, like, I woke up like a day and a half later at my house when I had been away camping with friends. I had no idea how the hell I got home. I was like 3 hours away from where I was supposed to be camping. And there were multiple other incidents that happened. And then I'm not sure how it is in the US military, but I definitely know that in the Australian military in the early 2000s when I was in, there was a heavy drinking culture. I'm pretty confident about a lot of my buddies used to drink a lot when they were in the military and the Marine Corps too. But it was just insane. And so one of the port visits, I did something extremely stupid, and I was drinking when I was on duty. And it was just dumb. Anyway, I ended up getting in trouble because one of my direct supervisors found out, and I told him about it. He's like, yeah, we're going to take care of this, handle it in-house. I'm like, okay, no worries. Like, fine. 30 minutes later, I'm fronting the CEO because I've been drinking on duty. I'm like, what happened here? Like, what happened if this is in-house? And so I felt betrayed, right? And I tell that because, in essence, they did betray my trust in terms of they said they were going to handle it in-house. But if you look at it from the grand scheme of things, if I wasn't the moron that drank on duty, that whole situation would never have happened. And that was kind of the big problem, right? I exit the Navy. I go and work in oil and gas as a subsea engineer and RV engineer. And I got passed up for promotions. I got told this is happening and this is happening. And we're never going to do this for you. And this is going to happen. And the common line that carried on following through was me. It was always about me. And I was looking at like the world screwing me over. They promised me this promotion, they're not giving it to me. Like they promised this, they're not doing that. And I never looked at what I could do to change things. I always looked at why people weren't doing the things that they said they were going to do. So naturally, being the victim that I was, I decided I'll go study language patterns to make people do what they say they're going to do for me. And that didn't work. Like I spent a good 2 years like practicing in bars because the best way to learn that kind of language pattern is through pickup. And so I started learning this social engineering stuff to try and like I was just getting rejected left, right, and center. I'm like, okay, it's not really working. Then that led me into further studies with like psychology and NLP and neuroscience. And then I had to start changing the more I dove into that. And when I started changing, crazy enough thing happened. Like all the language patterns started working. People started doing the things they said they were going to do. And so it took a while for me to start understanding. But like this whole coaching process that I got into was never, ever about helping anyone else. It was always, it actually started purely from a victim-based mentality, from a place where like it was all about me. And what ended up changing, it ended up morphing as things do evolve over time, right? And now it's become this is an amazing process where I get to help people to the point where we had a whole group of guys from the Australian Army that were living in Phuket, and they were quite in the depths and torments of PTSD. And they'd seen some very, very dire things, you know, friends being blown apart by IEDs and all the other graphic stuff that no one wants to experience. And so there was some experimental processes that they were going through in Thailand. They were doing some psilocybin therapy. I was working with them. There was some other things that were going on, and they were starting to get their life back together and find some meaning after war. And that kind of shifted things where I started looking at, well, there's plenty of other ways to define trauma. There's plenty of other ways to look at things. But the biggest thing that became very clear and very apparent to me was a lack and a breakdown of an internal mechanism for trust, trusting what you see, trusting what you feel, trusting what you hear. And when you have that breakdown of this internal trust, then there's no trust externally whatsoever. And the world becomes a very, very dangerous place. If you can't even trust your nervous system to pick up a signal where you're safe, like you are completely safe, then you can't trust anything. And that's a dangerous world to live in for anyone.
100%. And I think that's a fine line for many people. Once they lose that trust, internal trust, and then the external trust fades, that's when that darkness kind of creeps in for them. And no matter what you've done in life, if you've had some kind of trauma in your life, that darkness will swallow you up once you have no trust.
Absolutely. And it's very hard to claw back out of
Right.
that gap and of that space once you're inside it, because it consumes everything. Because then you can't even trust your thoughts.
Right.
Right. So like, oh, like, is this really real? Like, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that just rips people down. So it's a brutal place to get to. But the cool thing about it is the way I look at it, pretty much, and this is not necessarily true for everything, almost everything is reversible and recoverable from. Almost everything. Like, you can pull yourself out of those places if you have someone that can show you a path. And if you can get to a path where you can start to recognize what safety is for your nervous system, what safety is for your brain, and then you can start to trust those signals, then you have a platform now where you've got a foundation to build that internal trust from. And then you can start to tune into that and check with yourself and allow yourself to expand from there.
Once you learn the expansion, I guess, how to expand from there, the possibilities can be endless for you to be successful and stay ahead of the curve at that point.
Well, yeah, but it's even more than that. So here's the cool thing. When you go through a process like that, or any kind of traumatic process, or any kind of, let's take the trauma out, any kind of failure, right, of this internal breakdown, once you have patched that, it's like a weld, right? A plate breaks in half, then you weld it back up. That weld is now the strongest part of that entire beam. Like, it bears all the load, and it can handle all the load because you've built back, you've repaired it, you've found the weakness, and now you've made something even stronger. And because you've made this thing even stronger, there's more resilience, there's more ability to handle, and there's more understanding, and the level of trust that you can start to build with yourself automatically starts to increase, because you don't even need to remind yourself of all the things that you've actually been through. So you can start to continue to level up, because when you look back at the experience that you've, I'm going to say walked through, most people don't walk through, but so we're clear, on the other side, they say, oh yeah, I got through that. Right. Now there's this just unbreakable baseline on which to build from.
And when you were doing this study, did you think you'd write the book, the Trust Trap book, or was that just something that evolved from all this?
No. The Trust Trap came out of necessity than anything else. Okay. So when I started going down this path and looking into ways to help people and build build myself, really. So, okay, 13, 14 years ago, I lost the vision in my left eye, right? I still can't really see from it. 6 months ago, well, we're in June now, so 7, 8 months ago now, the vision in my right eye started going. And I was at the shops, and I am by definition a pervert when it comes to my wife, right? Like, I will pinch her ass in the shopping center because this is just who I am. And I don't mean to be degrading, like, it's the way I show affection. However, I walked up to a woman and pinched her ass thinking it was my wife because she had the same dress on, she's got the same hair, same skin tone. I was like, hey, baby, how's it going? She's like, excuse me? I was like, oh, shit. Like, that's how much I couldn't see to give a clarification, right? Like, I just couldn't tell. And I was standing, like, right behind it. And my wife came around the corner, and, like, I saw this woman start laughing, like, oh, this lady actually called me a pervert to my face because you're a pervert. I'm like, look, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah, I'm way out of line. So that's how bad my eyesight was, right? Like, I couldn't even tell who my wife was, like, 2 meters away. And it came to a very real point because I lost the vision in my left eye. I was at a music festival. I was just walking from one stage to another, and my vision just disappeared. Like, it just went black. So then I had an operation. It failed. Had an operation. It caved my sight back better than it had ever been for like 10 years at this point. I was like, this is amazing. And then 2-3 weeks later, I had another operation because my eye developed cataract and it took my vision away.
Oh, wow.
So they gave me back my vision, then they ripped it away. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Now, this is why, like, it was a cataract, which is actually supposedly a very simple and straightforward operation. Now, after spending thousands and thousands of dollars and a couple of months trying to figure out what was going on, they told me it was a cataract in my right eye. So I was like, there's a very real chance that they could mess this up, and now I'm blind in both eyes permanently. Yeah. So it was kind of a self-preservation mechanism. But also more than that, it was about a way that I could still have an impact if I couldn't coach anymore. Yeah. And so the trust trap got born out of a pure necessity. Like, how could I still provide something for my family that is of absolute immense value, that is self-contained in one tiny little unit that doesn't require any extra work. There's no upsell the whole, hey, look, hey, you bought this book now. Let me really show what's going on by getting my coaching. Oh, hey, now really you can buy it. No. I had to have something that was like, what to me a book was created for, like a self-contained process where you read this book, you have a transformation, you get a result. And so there are a lot of reasons for why the book came about, but the main one was to still be of use, even if I could no longer coach. So it just got born out of necessity. And I had a really intense time writing. I wrote it in 3 weeks. Wow. I was sitting in front of my computer. My face was about 6 inches away from my screen, and the font was on 200%. And I sat there typing for 16 to 18 hours a day just to just get it done. Because if it wasn't published by the day that I went out for surgery, there was a chance that I wasn't going to be able to publish it at all. Right. Not in the way that I want to write. I had people say, well, you could have got a ghostwriter. And you guys, I didn't want a ghostwriter. Like, this is like 15 years of stuff that I've studied and looked at and been a part of and practicing. Like, I don't want someone else to write that. I want to write that. So you could also say it's an ego thing. Yeah. So there's multiple things, right? It's necessity, it's ego, it's like all this stuff come together. But obviously we're having this conversation now. I can see you, just so you know. This isn't me like being fake. I can actually see you. And the operation went really well. So I'm super fortunate, like really, really fortunate.
Now, I know that surgery, a lot of eye surgeries are not very successful. There's a lot of high percentage that don't go well. So you're one of the lucky ones who come out with vision in that eye. So
yep.
Thanks to those doctors, and thankful you can see now.
Oh, I spent so much time investing. So the previous surgeon, no disrespect to him, he is a retinal specialist. He specializes in the vitreous, so the fluid, the jelly in your eye, and the retina. He wasn't a cataract specialist. The guy I went to this time was a cataract specialist. And I saw 7, 8 different cataract specialists. And he was the only one that sat down and said, okay, like, what about this? Have you tried this? He went through, listed through like all the stuff that I'd actually already done. He's like, cataract surgery is like, once you do it, like, you can't undo it. So I need to make sure you've tested every other option before we go down this path. He was the only one. All the others said, yeah, we can do surgery. We can go this, we can go that. And then he sat down and asked me questions. Okay, like, what do you feel about this? What do you feel about that? So he was the only one that I felt actually cared about me as a human being, which allowed me to feel safe. And I actually had a feeling like an internal recognition, like, this guy actually cares. Like, I can put my faith in this guy that's going to do the right thing by me, as opposed to just being like another cash check.
Right. And a lot of your feelings, you're studying on the trust and all that stuff. Did that come into play when you're talking to these doctors? Saying this trust, I don't know if I can trust you, but I need to verify this as well.
So here's the thing about my view with trust. It's not the standard view of trust. And this is why it's such a liberating process. It's a bit of a chunk to get your head around before you get there. But once you get it, it changes your world forever. So a lot of people think that trust is based on personality and that you assign trust. And we do automatically assign trust by some evolutionary loopholes that have created like this perfect storm inside our brains, man. It's crazy. So what happens? is your brain, my brain, everyone's wants to learn everything as fast as it can and then turn into an automatic pattern. So let's say we've been friends for 3 months, right? It's a very short friendship, but I've shown up enough and you've shown up enough that we now go, yep, genuine guy. We can trust each other. We're good to go. So now what happens is you create an internal representation of me and I create one of you. And then I frame you as a trustworthy guy. You frame me as a trustworthy guy. Now we're still going forward and we go into a business venture and we're moving in the same direction. But then things start to take a turn and I stop showing up in the same way. But inside your head, you've got this internal representation that says, Clay's trustworthy. Clay would never do this. And so you start self-correcting, even though your gut is picking up on things going, something's not right here. Your conscious mind goes, no, but we've got this representation. Safe dude. Like we can trust him. And so it starts throwing these things out. Whereas my version of trust doesn't focus on that. My version of trust focuses on the real time. Is it in your best interest to do what's in my best interest? And is it in my best interest to do what's in your best interest? It's based on mutual incentive and a mutually beneficial outcome. That's it. And as objective as is possible. So, was it in all of the surgeon's best interest to book a surgery with me? Yes, they get more money and they need money to survive.
Right.
So it's all in their interest. However, was it in their best interest to be seen as a good person who cared? And that's depending on how they showed up. And some just showed up in a very, let's say, arrogant way, for lack of a better word. Like, I can do this. This is going to happen. This is how things are, et cetera, et cetera. And the guy that I worked with and I opted to do the surgery with showed up in a very compassionate, very understanding way. So I could trust that from his experience, from his body language, from the language that he asked, from the questions that he asked, I could trust that he genuinely seemed to care versus just genuinely seeming to be like, okay, I can cash in on this guy and get the result.
So that's a great explanation of that. And just last night I was in the ER because I tore my quad, and the doc looked me in the eyes and wasn't just looking like at the screen or at the pictures. He looked me in the eyes and talked to me like I was a human and not just a number in the ER, which you can wind up being a number in the ER quick if it's busy.
Oh, yeah.
And there's lots of numbers, but he was looking me in the eye and talking to me like we've known each other forever. And that made me feel better about what my next steps will be with this quad. And it gave me that level, I guess, trust, like we're talking about, to say this guy might know what he's talking about and he's pointing me in the right direction. So I know there is steps I can do to make this thing heal a lot better than I would do on my own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that, especially when it comes to medical processes or procedures, your level of faith in the person that you're working with massively improves the chances of the outcome being positive. And that's why I spent so much time hunting around. And that's why you had such a reaction that you did. Like, okay, like I'm feeling safe around this guy. And that trust is that feeling of safety in your nervous system, right? Yep. It's not even that you're trusting the other person. It's that you're trusting yourself to make the right decision about the other person. That's where it gets crazy, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, I trust this person. No, you trust your judgment about that person. That's what you're trusting. It's never about the other person. When someone cheats on you, it's not about them. It's like, okay, I'm trusting this outdated image of them. There's always signs. Like there's always signs. I used to give talks, and when I used to give a lot of talks here in Phuket at the retreat centers, I just asked for a show of hands. Like, okay, like who here, and with women especially, it's crazy. Like men tend to just go, whatever, we'll figure it out on the way. But women seem to like override their like natural conditioning to picking up red flags like it's out of control. So I'll say, as a show of hands, who here has ever been betrayed in business or in a relationship or any kind of thing? And like every single time, 100% of the hands go. Okay. Now, put your hand down if, looking back, you couldn't see any of the flags or any of the signs that it was going wrong. All the hands stay up.
Oh, wow.
Now, there is no way that you can say, like, it's just not possible to turn around and go, you know what? Yeah, I didn't know something was going on. Or I don't have the skill set to be able to do this. if 100% of people, and it was routine that 100% of people say, yeah, looking back, like I could see all the trails now. I definitely ignored a bunch of stuff that was there. So if you can just ignore those things, then you can actually put yourself into a position where you never get screwed over again, where you never get blindsided again, where you never get betrayed again, because you already have all the operating system inside you. It's just about paying attention to it. And that's why, like, paying attention to the mutually beneficial outcome. Like right now, we're on this show having this conversation because you think I would be a good fit for your show. Right. If you thought I was a piece of trash and you thought I was some phony, you'd be like, no, thanks, man. I don't want you on the show. Don't waste my space. And that's fine. Like, I totally respect that. And likewise, if I didn't think that I'd be able to add value to your show, that I could come in here and go, hey, like, guys, like, focus on this, don't focus on that. Do this, don't do that. If I didn't think I had any value, I wouldn't even reached out. It's mutually beneficial for both of us. And you can align that in every single relationship and encounter throughout your entire life. And you'll always be able to start to track. And that's the cool thing. And this is the other thing. Like, it kind of goes down deeper into like values as well, because values become important. So the example I often use talks about you really have to understand the value of someone. And a lot of the values can come down to an identity level. So you can have the value of like, I want to be known as a good person or a good man or a good father or a good mother, whatever, right? And there's a little kid that's wandered out onto the road and there's a car that's going to come and mow them down. So what do? You run out there, you jump in and push the kid out of the way. You get hit by the car and you die. Now, some people say, well, there's no way that is in your best interest. Well, you pass away. You are now forever known as a good person, as a good human being. That can be an absolute driver for some people because now they are always seen as a good person. It's part of their duty. They could be part of their Christian duty, could be part of their Catholic duty, like whatever duty you want to come into, right? That is now them being seen as it. So it comes down to a lot of the values. But at the same time, when you can start to figure and start to decipher what those values are for people, you can start to align yourself with their actions. And that's the cool thing about it, because you'll recognize that at some point, you won't have the same desired outcome. And when that happens, you're not getting betrayed. You guys just go on different paths. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. You said earlier that men are usually like, oh, whatever. And women they kind of dig deeper into stuff. Why do you think people ignore red flags that are so obvious to them and they know they're there?
So the simple answer is red flags aren't red when you're wearing rose-colored glasses.
Nice.
Right? That's how it is. Like if you're and the rose-colored glasses comes back to what we were talking about before. If I've got you in this safe box, then you're in the safe box. So it's like, he'd never do that. No, she'd never do that. No, it's fine. Like, we're good. Right? And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about a personal relationship or you're talking about a professional relationship. It's always going to be the same. It's always going to be the same. It doesn't matter. So when you're going through this process, and let's use an example. Okay. So let's talk about first date scenario. And guys are notorious for this. So when it comes to a guy, they're like, yeah, she's got these red flags, but she's hot. So whatever, like I could put up with a bit of crazy. Right? And guys will continue pursuing a chick because she's hot. And they're like, I can tolerate a bit of crazy. It's no problem. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's worth it. It's worth it. And then they get 2 months into like, it is not worth it. I need to eject, pull the eject button, like, get me the hell out of here. Women in that scenario will spot maybe some minor things. Like, I could probably fix him. He's a work in progress. He's a fixer-upper. And it's like the same process. It's just how we discount them. So that's in like a very initial, like, I'm going to start dating someone. Yeah, okay, they got these minor things. I went through a process where I was previously married to a Brazilian lady. We split because she desperately wanted to have a family. And to me, I didn't want to have a family. Like, I did not want the responsibility for another human being. I just flat out did not. I don't hate kids. I actually now have 2. But I just didn't want that. Like, I wasn't ready for it, man. And I said to her, look, I don't ever want to have kids. Like, if it happens, then it happens, right? Lord willing, that's the deal I've been given. That's how it's going to be out. No worries. But I am never going to plan for having children. And now I have to. So we divorced because of that. She's now happily married and she has 2 kids of her own with her partner. So I'm happy, because if she didn't, it'd be a different story. I'd feel probably pretty guilty. But with this process and with moving forward, I went through a process where I started going out, and one of my mentors, Mark Cunningham, talked about creating the perfect woman. Like, okay. And to do that, sit down and write down every single thing about this woman. Everything. Go nuts. Go like, what's the perfect color hair? What's the perfect color eyes? What's the perfect intelligence level? How does she speak? What's her accent like? Can she speak multiple languages? Has she traveled? What's her mother like? What's her father like? Does she have brothers or sisters? And like mapping out like everything for yourself, so you could create this ideal woman for yourself. And then as a resultant of that, what's to happen is your brain automatically starts to filter women through this process. And it starts to look for women that meet this process. Now, I had a client of mine who was searching for the ideal guy. So I took her through the process and whatever. She then she goes, okay, I'm going to do this process, and then outsourced it to ChatGPT. So ChatGPT gave her a list of what the perfect guy would look like for her. I was like, you're missing the point. Like, some things you can use ChatGPT for, but other things, like, you are not putting the work in. And if you're not putting the work in, your brain's not getting the work done. And if your brain's not getting the work done, it's not going to know what to look for, because you've just given it this list. Right? It's like going and studying business at university and learning from a professor who's never, ever run a business versus learning from a mentor who's scaled a company to 100 million or 200 million. You're going to get 2 entirely different points of view. One is going to have tactics and systems that work in the real world, and one will have tactics and systems that work in the theoretical world that might not be applied practically. And so the idea is you want to have your brain as attuned as possible. You want to focus on what is going on and move forward with that. And to tune your brain, you need to do the work. And sometimes the shortcut is doing the work.
Definitely is. We have 2 questions from the audience has popped up here. This is from Kel2Tree. Clay, you talk openly about turning personal wreckage into a weapon. What was the first step in that transformation for you? Thank you, Kel2Tree.
That's a good question. The first step was recognizing that I was a victim, which sucks, right? And so we're clear. Not that I was a victim. Let me rephrase. That I was playing the victim. I think they're 2 very different things, right? You can be a victim of abuse. Someone can be abusing you, and you're in a place where you didn't have a choice to get out of it. That can happen. I was the victim that was self-created, that put myself in that place. 2 very different things. I had put myself in a place where the world was against me and the world was out to get me, and nothing could be further from the truth. So no one really, I mean, with the exception of a few rare cases, for the majority of people in the world, no one is waking up thinking, you know what, how can I screw over Rick today? How can I screw over Clay today? Like, this is my mission for the day. I'm going to destabilize their life. No one does that. But sometimes inside our heads, we can fall into that trap.
Right.
And I was very much in that trap back in the day when I was in the Navy, and my boss screwed me over. And so I couldn't trust anyone. And it reframed the whole way that I went through the Navy. And then subsequently, the way I went through working in oil and gas, working on rigs in Africa and all through Asia. It was just insane. But that first step is the hardest, because if you don't know that you're in a prison, then life just seems normal, even though it's a wreckage. And I didn't even know how bad of a wreckage I was actually in. And so the evidence that I had to look at, and I started to take a tally of all of the, let's say, negative things that happen in my life, and all of these negative things, all of them, no matter how much I wanted to outsource the blame, I had to agree to myself to recognize that I had a part to play. And I put that to everyone. No matter whether you're with an abusive partner, male or female, I don't care. You're still in that relationship. So you have to own that. You're still choosing to be in that relationship. You have that part of ownership. Not saying that you incited them to punch you or to cheat on you or to emotionally abuse you or gaslight you. I'm not saying you started that. I am saying if you're still in something like that, then you are choosing right now, presently, to still be in that. And you have to own that part, because you're not entirely the victim if you keep choosing the same thing. You have a role to play. And when you can grasp that, no matter the situation, there is some element of responsibility, different from blame. I don't play the blame game, but responsibility is absolutely massive. And when you can take that responsibility, you remove the power from the other person and you give it back to yourself. And the more you can do that, the more powerful you start to make yourself, the more you start to expand your awareness of all the things that are going on, and the more you can start to create the situation and the systems for yourself to start to move forward from any kind of personal wreckage that you find yourself in.
Outstanding. Kel2 Tree, I hope that answered your question. I know I got a lot of information out of it, and other audience members have as well. We'll move on to Freeman wrote a question as well. How did writing The Trust Trap help you process your past? And what's the most important lesson readers should take from it? Thank you, Freeman.
The most important lesson? That's an impossible question, because the most important lesson is going to be dependent on the individual, right? There are so many people in so many different places in their life right now that to say like the most important lesson would be, well, just arrogant on my part. But let's pretend that I'm arrogant for a moment and I'll make up the most important lesson. We can do that, because why not? So if we were to reframe that and say, what do I think is like the one thing that if you get, you will have a completely different life? And that would be that the trust trap is an approach. And that approach shows you that if you change the way you build trust, you change the way you build everything in your life. Every relationship, every business, just let's circle back, every relationship. Think about that. That means the relationships with your parents, if they were strained or torn, the relationships with your brothers and your sisters and your siblings, your cousins, your relationship with your partners, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your boss. Every single relationship changes if you change the way you build trust. Because if you're lacking self-trust right now, then all those relationships are tarnished. Every single one is going to be decimated internally by you without you even knowing, because you don't even feel safe within yourself. But when you start to create that foundation and you have that safety there, what starts to happen as a result is you now build from that foundation, and you're not building from a house of cards. You're building from something rigid, something stable, and then that allows you to build with, I don't like to use the word confidence, because I think confidence is a skill. It's kind of a little segue, but confidence is something that you get at the end of it. But what it does is it allows you to build from a place of commitment. And I would challenge everyone that's listening to this right now to think back through your life and look at the times that you have really committed. And I mean really committed. There's only going to be a handful of times, if you're honest, maybe only one or two. And then I'd ask you, say, okay, so if you committed to this process, did you get the result that you wanted? Or did you know you got something even better? Because with commitment, there's like 5 levels that I like to go through. So the first thing before you do anything is commitment. Are you fully committed to the process? Once you've got commitment, then you're going to start to develop your capability, your skill level. Then you're going to develop your capacity. Then you're going to develop your ability for consistency. And then once you've got all those, as an end result of that, you now start having confidence in how you show up. So commitment's the core of what really happens in everything that we do, that we want to do well at. So are you committed to getting to a point to where you can have this perspective of trust, where you can have this way of life where no one needs to be blamed for anything that happens? You can take full responsibility and accountability of your own life and your own actions and how you contribute to everything that happens. And then you can move forward from there. But that would probably be the best lesson, I think, to put something out there, is that if you can adopt this, you will change the way that you build your world, because you're not running on past ideologies inside your head about how someone is. You're paying attention to how they are now. And there's nothing about the person being good or evil. It's purely, are we aligned? No, we're not. Cool. So let's go separate ways.
Nice. After you went through that process of getting that book out so quickly, sitting so close to the screen and typing most of your days away basically on that screen, 16 hours a day, you were saying, and after you got it out and then your vision was restored, did you feel a sense of accomplishment that you did it? And then what do I do now? Did you feel that at all?
Massively. So that was the funny thing, right? Like, I was so short-sighted in getting and developing the book out. I'm like, okay, all I got to do is write it. And that was like in my head, right? And so I published it. I'm like, woohoo, it's done. So we're clear. The first version that came out had some major errors with it. The links that I put in there didn't actually work. Because like audio programs to take people through processes, right? Like it's like a full contained program to like develop things. So the links weren't working. They were in the wrong place in some parts of the book. There was like paragraphs that had been like doubled. There was entire page that was blank. There were like things that were missing because we wrote it and published it in 3 weeks, right? And so I was working with my editor and like we're just like going back, like smashing it out. I'm like, okay, let's get it out. And it's done. And so we cleaned it up now. It took us like a month after that to clean it and get like fine-tuned and get it right. So there's like 100 copies that are like weird, but they work. So yeah, the whole process became, well, I mean, it's great that I wrote the book, but if I didn't tell anyone about it, no one's going to be able to buy it. And it's not really going to have any impact. And so it opened up a whole new level of work. We're like, okay, so now I need to promote it. Now I need to go speak to people about it. Now I need to develop ad campaigns. I actually probably need to build a website for the book. I need to do like this and this and this. So I've been going through and building out all the things which most people do before they launch the book. Like it's like a haphazard, let's bandage this on and like build it as we go. But it's working, you know, we're getting there. But there was a huge amount of accomplishment and a huge amount of relief for having the book released and getting it done on time, right? That was definitely a time that I had committed to. That was 100% of time I committed to. And I was committed to getting it out. I wasn't committed to getting it perfect. And that was a big distinction, right? Like a lot of people try to get things done perfectly and try to have, oh, it's going to be this and thing. I was like, I'm going to get it done. And I'd say like 95% of the book was fine. There was very few things that needed to be changed with it. But the changes, when made it flow much better, and it's a much easier and simpler read. So it was a process, and it's still a process. Like I'm still figuring it out as we go. There's still so many things that I'm still learning about. I didn't know anything about marketing a book. I didn't know anything about doing ads on Amazon. I didn't know like nothing. So there's still a process that I'm learning.
You're still battling it. That's awesome. And you kind of, by going through the process of doing it as a sense of urgency, basically, because you knew that there's a possibility you wouldn't be able to see anymore. I got to get this book out. You had that cart before the horse, and you were doing everything kind of in the backwards fashion. And now you're learning all the steps for when you write your next book. It'll be so much easier.
When I write, man, that's a very bold assumption we've got there. When I write my next book,
I can feel it.
There is like I'm in the process now of recording the audio version of the book, because people are like, look, man, it's fantastic. I just don't have time to read. But I do have 45 minutes in my car on the way to work every morning and every evening on the way back, and I'll happily listen to it. Like, okay, no problem. So that's now, but see, that's also part of the learning process, right? I'm like, okay, let me do the audiobook. No worries, I can do the audiobook. We can get it out. So that's the next part of the process. As for another book, I think, okay, yeah, sure, it's definitely a possibility, but I would like to see this one be successful before I go and write another one. Right?
Sure.
Like, I think as humbly as I can say this, and it's probably not going to sound humble at all, but I do mean it with a great amount of humility. This book really has the potential to change millions of lives. Me as someone, so right now, I'm doing something that I am totally not happy about doing, which is speaking live on podcasts, right? I'm very comfortable in front of people. I'm very comfortable with presenting. I keynote speak with 400, 500 people in an audience. Like, I've done these things. But I, by rights, am a very private guy. And I like to keep to myself.
Right.
Now, the issue is when I tell you subtle art of not giving a fuck, you automatically go, oh, Mark Manson.
Yep.
So you know the author. So because you know the author, you'll then go read the book. So I'm putting myself out there now, which is something that kind of goes against every fiber of my body because I'm putting myself into the spotlight.
Right.
And for whatever reason, I just conflated the two, meaning like, oh, if I put myself in the spotlight, I'm not going to have any privacy. And then I don't know what the worst thing that was going to happen was. I just did not want to do it. I was like, well, look, mate, you've committed to this process. You want to help people. You say you want to help people. So if you really want to help people, you need to put yourself out there, because if people don't know who you are, they're not going to buy the book. And then they're not going to get the transformation. And then you put all that effort in with this huge thing that you want to help change people's lives, and then it's gone and done nothing. Right. So, yeah, right now I am on a mission, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. But ideally, I would like to get more than a few million copies sold so that I can have like more than a few million people experience like this ultimate level of freedom. Like the feedback I've been getting from this book is just insane. Really, really insane. And with ex-military guys, I think for the most part, we're taught to not trust our gut. We're taught to like push it down. We're taught to pay attention, to follow orders, to do what we're told. And we feel like something's not right and there's something off, and we get told to, submit that, put it down. And then when things start going wrong, you start feeling even more disconnected from yourself, and it starts to splinter inside. I think it becomes very, very important to be able to reestablish that. I know for a fact, with a bunch of cops that I have worked with, they have battles every day with this self-trust, because they're trying to do the right thing by themselves, by their family, by the law. And then they're faced with people that just don't care about it. And then they start battling with themselves like, am I actually a good person? Like, am I becoming so warped by what I'm doing? I know for a fact that paramedics definitely deal with it, because they scrape up bodies off the road. Like, I don't know a single paramedic that rides a motorbike. They used to, and then they stop very quickly, right? They're like, yeah, I'm just not going to do it, man. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
I don't want to be the next one.
Yeah, exactly, right? So there's a lot of things that go in there. But I got told by a book writing coach who's a friend of mine. He said, I don't know if the world's ready for this book. I said, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know if there's enough people that realize like this is a core issue of their life or a foundational issue. And I said, yep, fair enough. I said, then that makes it my job even more important to go and tell them if this is happening in your life, if you're doubting yourself, if you're constantly finding yourself in this situation, if you keep getting in bad relationships, if you're having troubles like trusting your thoughts and trusting yourself, then this is the book for you. Yeah. And it's going to, and that was a big thing for writing the book too. So a couple of people said, well, why didn't you do a course? Because like you do courses all the time, you should do a course. I'm like, yeah, I could, but then I've got to host it on our website. And I've got to do this. And if something goes down, then they can't access the course. So the book's the book. Once they buy the book, if you buy a paperback version, like you've got it in your hand, you can read it anytime. So that was how like the whole thing came around to the book. But the trust trap itself and the idea behind it and this whole process was 100% spawned out of necessity. And now the necessity is try and help as many people as I can.
That's outstanding. And our goal on the show is on each show, if we reach one, teach one, that's a success for us. But
oh yeah,
we're 526 episodes in now, 27 with you. If we reached one on every one of them and they told 2 friends and they helped them, we're doing outstanding. That's a success as well. So as we blew through 54 minutes here, Clay, is pretty awesome. And if that means we had a good conversation, good chat going on here. 2 questions I like to ask my guests as we're about to leave.
Yep.
First one is, what's the best way for the Misfit Nation to reach you to see if they can have a chat with you like this, if they can have you on their show, or maybe just to pick your brain?
So best place is one of 2 places. I'm on X quite frequently. That's probably the most active platform that I'm active on. You can reach me on X and you search for Moffat, Moffatclay, or email me, go at Clay Moffat, same spelling, .com. That'd be the best way to get in touch.
I shared all your links in the chat while we were talking, but here's the X right there. So people can go there. And the second question we ask is, what's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better humans?
So one is learn to trust yourself. And to learn to trust yourself is very simple. Start recognizing that it's got nothing to do with you. You're not stupid. You're not broken. You're not an idiot. You're not a moron. You're not naive. You're not gullible. Whatever derogatory, stupid term you've been giving yourself, you're not that. If you keep falling into these patterns, I am telling you now, it's backed by neuroscience, it's backed by psychology. I've spent a lot of time studying this, and I have psychologists that are like, this is a massively different take on trust. I've never thought about it, and it's a breakthrough. So it's not just me. There are a lot of people that are starting to back this up. Now, with that being said, it is your brain. So if you can start to recognize that it's your brain doing what it naturally did to survive, that's your first step. So give yourself a break. And a lot of people say you got to give yourself a break, but this is how. You recognize that you keep falling into these traps. 1, because your brain has this default perception of this person's safe, so therefore I can trust them, so therefore I don't need to pay attention. Trust what your gut is picking up, because your gut is picking up things that your conscious mind has never been trained to pay attention to or was trained to override. That's the first thing. Second thing, learn nonverbals. Pay attention to nonverbal behavior. Once you start learning nonverbal behavior, you start paying attention to nonverbal behavior, you can start seeing clusters of behavior that are different. And this is what your gut is picking up. It's picking up clusters of behavior that are different from the default behavior, from the baseline behavior that the other person is doing, is using, is showing, is portraying. And the third thing is do something for yourself every single day that reinforces the good things that you do in life. So the simple and the most boring process, I know for a fact that it's super boring. I get it, and it sucks, and people don't want to do it. But I promise you, I used to have clients that were paying me $7,000 a month, and this is the thing that I would always, always, always do with them. So it's simple. What you do is, as you go through the day, you pay attention to behaviors, to thoughts, to responses, to actions, to things that you're saying that are responding in a new and different way, in the way that you want, meaning in the direction of whoever it is that you want to become, and you're moving towards that. So you're driving down the freeway, you get cut off, your usual response is, and then you're going to start abusing the person out the window.
Right.
So it happens again tomorrow morning. And you go to do that, but you stop yourself. And then 10 seconds later, you do it anyway. But you stopped yourself for 10 seconds. That is a change in your behavior because you managed to stop yourself. You pay attention to the smallest things that are weaponizing neuroplasticity in the direction you want to go. Because neuroplasticity, everyone talks about it. And it's this amazing thing. But it's how you learned all the bad things, too, that you do, right? Neuroplasticity is a double-edged sword. It's how you learn all the good things in your life and the bad things. But when you train your brain to focus on all the ways that it's working for you, it will start paying attention to it. When you start putting emotion and being grateful for those things, you're training your brain. You're now conditioning your brain to pay attention to these processes. So it starts putting more energy there. And then before long, now you're moving in the direction that you want to go as a way of a default mechanism because you've trained your brain.
Great 3 things there. Misfit Nation, grasp them, learn them. If you don't understand them, reach back out to Clay and he will point you in the right direction and get you going and motivate you to do the right things. Clay, thank you for taking some of your time from the future to hang out with us today. This is awesome. I don't think you have to worry about being comfortable behind the camera. You're pretty good at this. Thank you for hanging out with us and sharing everything you've learned along your journey with the Misfit Nation.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night, Clay. Misfit Nation will be back Tuesday with the Tuesday crew. You'll have a great guest that night with Jake and Steven or Cagney and Lacey, however you want to call them. And remember, tomorrow is better with you than it is without you. So stay in the light. If you need help, dial 988, take option 1, or contact any one of us here at the Misfit Nation. We will be on the phone with you. We will get you the help you need. Till then, have a great night. Be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.